What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review. Shout out to Wayward Brigade, hooking your boy up with a shirt. They sent me a record to review, and I will do. I did like a little conversation about it on another video, but I'm gonna do a track by track for that. So stay tuned for that video. If you like 77 style punk, the U.S. Bombs, Swinging Utters, Rancid, Social Distortion, stuff that sounds kind of like that, go check out Wayward Brigade, man. Very good band. Friends of the channel, excuse me. Dude, I just drank something and it's like making my chest hurt. Old age sucks. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so look, man, here's the deal. Months ago, we were told about the sale of Fat Records to Hopeless Records. And it recently like finalized, and I didn't know that it was big news, but apparently it is big news, and there's a few reasons why. So we're going to just discuss that real quick. I'll give you my thoughts on it. I'd like to hear yours, and then we'll just go about our day. Maybe we'll talk about some of our favorite Fat Records releases. I'll probably do that with Rob soon, or maybe Rob and Nitty, and do a our top 10 Fat Records releases, because that label has been a staple within punk rock since the early 90s. I mean, like, it's people can say whatever they want about it, and all the punk elitists can talk all the crap they want, but the fact remains, NoFX is incredibly important to the punk rock community. Fat Records is incredibly important to the punk rock community. And those guys are just as punk as anybody else. They did it all by themselves. They didn't have any help. They never signed to any kind of... Hey, dude, those guys, I mean, they even... Honestly, they even crapped on their label mates. Who was it? Was it Strung Out, maybe? There was a video that NoFX... MTV wanted NoFX's video, and then... It might have been No Use for a Name. I honestly can't remember who it was. But... MTV wanted an NoFX video and said, if you don't give us that, we're going to pull all the other stuff off. And they said, well, then pull it then. So, like, they were just, they did things how they wanted. And that is the cornerstone of punk rock, doing things the way that you want to do them. So, let's check out this stuff I got here. I pulled it up already on the old interwebs. Fat Records, the influential independent punk rock label, has sold its catalog to Hopeless Records, but founders Fat Mike and Aaron Kelly Burkett will retain the rights to the label's name, logo, and trademark, according to multiple news outlets. Hopeless will focus on the existing Fat Records roster and forgive all artists' debts totaling $3.5 million in debt. That's crazy wild. It says, here's a more detailed breakdown. Now, this is just something you can find on Google. Anybody can find this on Google. I just wanted to bring it to your attention in case you hadn't thought about it or heard about it. Hopeless Records has acquired the Fat Records catalog and catalog of master recordings. That's what they got out of the deal. They also have agreed to a no new signings policy, meaning they will not sign any new artists to the Fat Records imprint, as they don't own the Fat Records label. They just own the catalog, apparently, right? It says up here that Mike and Aaron will keep the logo, the trademark, and the label name, so they can't even sign people to it. They're literally just doing what like the UFC did with well, that's different than that because they owned Pride at that point. Well, whatever. They bought the catalog. A significant aspect of the deal is that Hopeless is forgiving all outstanding artist debts totaling $3.5 million, according to Fat Mike and Aaron. That's insane. Can you imagine if you were a band that got your catalog... Sorry, I feel like I have something on my face. I don't know. It's weird. Can you imagine if you were a punk band and your label got bought up and you owed, let's say, $200,000 because you had done a record, maybe somebody got sick and you couldn't tour like you wanted to, the record underperformed, yada yada yada. So let's say you owed $100K, right? And it was just like a lot of money for, inventory, the recording process, all that stuff, right? Artwork, promotion, whatever it is that you signed up to pay back. And then you get your contract bought up basically, and they go, hey man, look, we're trying to help. You're good. That's amazing. Shout out to Hopeless Records, man. Fat Mike and Aaron will retain the ownership of the Fat Records name, the logo, and trademark as discussed earlier. They will continue to represent the label through events like festivals and pop-up shops. That's cool. That makes sense. Because there's always like Fat Records tents and stuff everywhere. That's why they're gonna do that. Okay, that makes sense. It says why this matters. The deal allows Fat Mike and Aaron to step back from the day-to-day management of the label while ensuring the legacy of Fat Records continues. Um, Fat Records was founded in 1990 by Fat Mike and Aaron Kelly Burkett and has been a major force in independent punk rock since then. Yes, that is correct. We all agree with that. So something I saw on my phone earlier. Oh, I guess it's not there anymore. I thought I saw it on Loudwire. Let's see. See if they have any other information real quick. If not, we'll let's see. I don't really look at Loudwire, so I don't really know much about it if I'm honest. I mean, everything I'm seeing is essentially exactly what we all just talked about. There's nothing else to know, it looks like. No new signings. Let's see. So they didn't disclose the financial details of the purchase. That's probably smart. Nobody needs to know what they. I bet you it's millions of dollars though. It's got to be, right. You think it's millions? Maybe a million? What do you think that they paid for the Fat Records catalog? Because I mean, it is just a back catalog, but it is a pretty substantial one with a lot of classic punk albums that you can just reissue. Hmm. That's cool, man. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading through this real quick, skimming through it if I can not make this really boring for you guys. Hopeless Records is particularly known in the punk and metal scenes, having released records for artists including Avenged Sevenfold, which I always thought was really strange when I found out they were on Hopeless. All Time Low, Taking Back Sunday, Sum 41, and Destroy Boys, amongst others. They were founded in 1993. Fat Records, meanwhile, has been the home for artists including NoFX and Rise Against since its launch in 1990. In their announcement, Posen, Fat Mike, and Kelly, Posen being the owner of Hopeless, what is his first name? Sorry, whatever, who cares? Uh, they described the new partnership as a full circle moment, giving their nearly 30 years of friendship. Posen, originally a music video director, first met Fat Mike after reaching out to direct a video for the NoFX song Bob. Mike and Kelly Burkett later gave him guidance on running his indie label. Without Fat Records, there would be no Hopeless, the companies said in their announcement. That's actually probably really accurate. The opportunity to lead the history, catalog, and Fat Records into the future. Wait, hold on. The opportunity to lead the history, catalog, and roster of Fat Records into the future alongside Mike and Aaron is the honor and privilege of my 30-year career, Posen said in a statement. We are incredibly grateful that Mike and Aaron have entrusted the Hopeless team to care for their 35 years of passion and hard work. I don't know when it will fully sink in, but we are deeply committed to honoring and continuing the remarkable history of Fat Records. Fat Mike said that his label had been in touch with several other companies about a potential deal over the past 3 years, but after that, looking around, Aaron and I realized Hopeless was the only choice. We've been friends with Lewis for over 30 years, and he is someone who always seems to do things for the greater good. I completely trust his ethics and acumen with the legacy of Fat Records. Kelly Burkett called the deal one of the biggest decisions I've ever made, but also one of the most exciting. Fat has been my baby for 35 years, she said. To me, it's more than a label. It's a community, a home, and a legacy built from the ground up. Lewis understands that, and I can't think of anyone better than Hopeless to carry Fat forward. As a true fan, Lewis knows firsthand what Fat is all about, and he will build on the foundation Mike and I laid with care and respect. These bands are my family, and I know they're in good hands within the Hopeless family. Yo, that's awesome. I feel, man, I love that it's like kind of a happy story, right? How much would that suck to have this be like a bummer? You know what I'm saying? Interesting, dude. Interesting. I might do a Fat Records write up in the next issue of the zine. I got to do my part two of the Vegas trip, but I might do a Fat Records, like just kind of like my memories of Fat Records. Look forward to that. I'll probably do that in the July August issue of Playlist. Excuse me. If you're interested in what I'm talking about, I have a zine that I just started. We've done one issue. It's on its way. It's already shipped to me. It's called Playlist, and it's mostly songs. It's most so over. We do live streams every week 3 times, and I write down all the songs that we play. And I've been cutting those out and pasting them on paper, and then I just scanned them in and made a zine out of it. And it's like a catalog of all the songs that we played, so you can go and discover new music if you are new to the community or whatever. But within that, there's like record reviews, write-ups, recipes, art, all kinds of stuff. So the first issue is 32 pages. It's $5.99 shipped in the US. It comes with a sticker, and I'm very excited to do this. So if you're interested, there's a link to my web store in the description. You can check it out there. If not, no worries. I just was explaining what I meant when I said, do it in the thing. So yeah, man, this is pretty incredible. This photo is wild of Fat Mike with the cigar. So it says here on punknews.org, after months of rumors, bad info, false starts, and gossip, it's now public. Fat Records has sold its catalog to Hopeless. There are a number of caveats that Fat Records co-founders Fat Mike and Aaron Burkett insist upon before the sale went through. So this is probably going to be all the exact same stuff that we just... yeah, I think this is all the same. So there's no additional information out here that I can see anywhere. Let's see. I don't know. Wait, hold on. What? Hold on. What am I seeing? Okay, hold on. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Mike is in a band and he knows what it's like when you're on a label and maybe the label treats you a certain way. It's very much like we are on a team and treating the bands like they want to be treated. We sign bands where not only do we like their music, but we like the people. That was always a deciding factor. Meanwhile, the new owner of the catalog, Hopeless, doesn't have quite the same homogenous identity. Whereas Fat fans are fans of the bands as much as the label itself, Hopeless is arguably more contemporary in their fan base, with their fans being perhaps more dedicated to individual bands on the label than the label itself. That's probably true, even though I still am a Hopeless fan. Hopelessly devoted to you, 1 and 2, great comps. Meanwhile, the thematic connection between Fat bands and Hopeless bands is vast. The style and the way of doing things between, say, Lagwagon and Good Riddance really isn't that far, but try to find the line connecting Fame on Fire and Destroy Boys. That being said, Hopeless itself does have a Fat connection. Okay, so we already know all that. Now the future is the concern of a lot of bands signed to Fat. To that end, a key aspect of the sale of the catalog is fairly unique in the field of record label acquisition. This is on punknews.org if I didn't already mention that, pardon me. As part of the sale, all bands, that's wiped out, okay, yeah. So that is, if a band had an advance that was not yet recouped, that balance owed is zeroed. So that band sells a single royalty at Hopeless, they will begin earning royalties immediately. That's amazing. Often when a band signs with an independent label, the expense of the record production is granted as an advance. When the band's music earns money, the money earned first is counted against the advance. That's commonplace. That's how it should be. So a band usually does not earn money until the advance is paid back through royalties earned on record sales. Yes, but it also shouldn't cost as much as these people are spending to record records. Like independent labels that do this are probably nowhere near the debt. The bands are nowhere near the debt, and the it's much easier to pay all that back. The way I do it is that the bands just pay for their recordings, and then I put the record out, and then we figure out a way to do like percentage of the albums will go to the band. It's a small percentage, but then they can buy up to half the pressing at wholesale, stuff like that. Like it's real simple, easy. I don't own nothing. They own their masters. I don't want to own anything. I am a platform for bands to get their music out there. Even more interesting is that Aaron and Mike essentially paid off the debts themselves. That is, say the cost of Hopeless buying Fat was valued at $100. In this sale, Hopeless only paid $80 to Aaron and Mike, due to the fact that Aaron and Mike required that band debt be wiped out upon the sale. As far as record label sales, this is a rather monumental and magnanimous, that's a weird word, move on the part of Aaron and Mike. In fact, the debt forgiveness cost Aaron and Mike about $3.5 million. So they're the ones that basically said, we'll sell it to you at a lower cost if you wipe out their debt. That's amazing. Bro, let's go, dude. At least that's what I'm getting out of this. Maybe you know something I don't know. That is almost certainly the case to a degree. I don't know everything. I hardly know anything at that. People think that I think I know everything. I certainly don't feel that way. Like that NoFX song. I thought that was Mike talking in the mirror. People are saying it's a dig at Melvin. I don't actually know. To me, it felt like it was a song that Mike was talking to himself, but I don't know all the rumors and the gossip. I don't really have time for all that stuff. So clue me in, man. I'll have time to read some comments. So let me know. Further, Hopeless has agreed that no new bands will be added to the Fat roster, and bands that are currently on Fat are guaranteed a spot on the label post-sale. With a few rare exceptions, Fat has only ever done one album contracts as opposed to multi-album deals. Yet, the sale did not come without bumps. In October of 2024, news broke that Hopeless had purchased Fat. It caused massive discussion and ripples in the punk rock world. One of the bastions of modern punk would be no more. Yet that news was incorrect. At the time, Punk News reached out to Fat directly and learned that the news was not true. At the time, Fat and Hopeless were in discussions, but the details of potential sale had not been hashed out, and no contract had been signed. I feel like that's kind of misleading. We all knew that this is where it was headed. Did we, though? I feel like we kind of knew. I say it was probably just likely that it was going through, but I kind of just assumed it was. That's me being stupid, I guess. People love to tell me I'm stupid. Go ahead. I need the interactions in the comments. I was extremely upset about that because it was inaccurate, says Aaron. We were in negotiations, but the deal was not finalized. What was actually posted was inaccurate. Yeah, but semantics, dude. It basically said Fat Mike and Aaron sell to Hopeless. That was not the deal that was structured. It was really upsetting to me over little details. Which, I understand why she's upset about. She's involved with it. When you see a headline that says Fat sells to Hopeless, you're not getting all the details. You don't know how important it was to Mike and I that our bands were taken care of. We started thinking about this years ago, and the number one priority was the bands. There are some bands that have never put out a record anywhere except Fat. Lagwagon, Good Riddance. So if we were to just sell to anybody, they would have no home. There would be no guarantee that they would be on Fat. They would not be treated like family. That they could be dropped. That was really upsetting to me. Okay, I understand that, but who cares what a bunch of people on the internet think, including me? Who cares what I think, right? Do you? She was just upset because she didn't want to get smeared in public eye, which I get that. It sucks to be crapped on, but who cares what these people think, man? If people get on here and talk crap about you, you have to ignore it. And sometimes I'm not good at that. I've been very vocal about how this affects me to a degree. So I'm over here contradicting myself, I guess. So never mind. Be as upset about it as you want. Bro, I'm just a person, man. Hopeless taking on a label like Fat, which has such a unique presence in the punk scene, as well as unified sound to a degree, could be seen as a challenge. For instance, there's a fierce brand loyalty Fat has garnered from its fans. Fat means a specific sound, a specific visual look, and a specific party and politics vibe. Maybe even a certain type of lifestyle. Is Hopeless nervous? I think Aaron and Mike picked us because they know I'm nervous about everything, says, what was his name? Whatever, Posen. I want to do the right thing. I've built a company that care about the artist and everything they do, down to the package and the liner notes. That's part of it. I'm enjoying this responsibility that has rewards and difficult parts associated with it. According to him, fans from the outside looking in might not see much of a change. Future Fat releases will have the Fat logo, but no Hopeless logo, even though Hopeless is now the parent entity. Album art and production style isn't expected to shift, and of course, no new bands will be added to the roster, but bands already on the roster will release new material. NoFX is releasing the first part of a 3-part Rarities trilogy. Bad Cop, have a new record coming out, etc. Posen says, we are hoping to take our resources and infrastructure and elevate the label and do some larger initiates on what is that what it says? Larger initiates. Sorry, I'm reading from kind of far away. It's a little difficult on what they've released and what they've meant to punk community for the last 35 years. We already know about some releases in the planning stage, though some releases have not been announced. Other than that, Posen was rather general about what can be expected from the new Fat in 2026 and 2027. Meanwhile, Aaron and Mike are retaining 2 Fat employees. Fat label manager Bart, who has been with the company for years, will still work for Fat, though he will also do some work in conjunction with Hopeless. Also, long-running employee Pat from Fat, who you likely have seen at music festivals where Fat makes a physical appearance, will continue running Fat's festival appearances and operations. Though Erin herself seems a little unsure about what her exact next steps will be. When asked exactly what she's going to do next and how she's feeling, she replied, "I am obviously very happy. As to my feelings, it's definitely a mixed bag. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited to let Lewis take over. It's been my pride and joy for 35 years. There's a little bit of sadness because this is what I've done for 35 years. These bands are family, truly. I'm not as sad as I might have been because I will still be involved. If Mike and I were just walking away, that would be very sad. I'm going to be very involved, and Mike can decide how much he wants to be involved. A lot of this started because Mike said, I've worked my entire life. I'm getting older, and I want to take a little bit of a breather. Mike can go off and enjoy his retirement if he likes. I'm still going to participate." Yo, I feel that, dude. Fat Mike is a hero to me, man. People can say whatever they want about the guy. I think that he's kind of a turd sometimes. He was not very nice to me at the Punk Rock Museum when I was, putting an incredibly expensive record on my credit card in his record store. All I wanted to do was say thank you. But that's just kind of who he is. That's just kind of. I've met him many times, and that's just kind of who he is. But I think he's a hero, man. And he's shamelessly himself. I think that's important. What a crazy, crazy thing. But good for them. Good for Hopeless. Good for the bands. All the bands that owed money. Good for those guys. Let's take a minute to just appreciate Fat Records and what they did, what they are, and hope that in the near future we get some kind of cool release. And I don't know, man. I feel like this is kind of old news already. Isn't that weird? I guess it's not technically, right? But anyways, yeah, Fat Records now owned by Hopeless officially, sort of. the details are interesting though. I think it's cool that Mike had the foresight to keep the name and everything so that they could still show up at events and be Fat and not be like, hey, we're just the guys that used to own Fat. I think that's important and smart, and I think that's really cool that Hopeless just bought the catalog. They're not going to sign nobody to it. It's not going to be like a revamping of it. It's just we own this catalog, these bands' names, and if they want to work with us, we'll work with them. I think that's, man, it's just like giving it to a younger person that has the desire to work on it. It's like stepping down from a position is what they did basically. They retired, and or Mike did. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff. I rambled on for quite a bit longer than I intended to, so my apologies, everybody. Thank you for hanging out and watching this video, though. What are your favorite things about Fat Records? What is your favorite Fat Records release? Give me a handful of your favorite Fat albums in the comments. Also, what are your favorite Hopeless Records releases? There's got to be at least a few. I'm more of a Fat Records guy, but Hopelessly Devoted to You 1 and 2 stayed in rotation in my car. Avenged Sevenfold, I don't love that band, but for a time I enjoyed them, and I think that would be on my top list of Hopeless releases. But my Fat Records releases, top releases, would be a very unpopular list, I think. But stay tuned to find out. We're going to do a video on that. Top Fat Records releases coming real soon. Thank you so much. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out Hopeless, support what they're doing because it seems to be a real good thing. I love you guys, man. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little while today. We'll catch you in the next punk rock review. Peace.